being shy was another coin of being prideful. What do I mean by that? Either thinking I'm too good for you or I'm thinking I'm too bad for this world focuses on me. And when I focus on me, that's pride. Mark Twain said, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's more of, okay, yeah, I'm scared of the world, but my kids, I want them to see the world. And that person over there, if I don't help them, some predator realtor is going to go and mess them up. So yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to take care of them. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again. And so you cannot be shy or prideful if you realize that you are born to find and serve somebody today.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. New episode, new review to highlight, and this is a 5-star review left on Apple Podcasts from Susan Gold is Magical. And their review is a 5-star review titled Insightful, Intelligent Interviews. That's a triple I love it. Most podcasts don't make it to 6 episodes. Dom is blowing it out of the water with fresh perspective and authentic insight. Gotta love that AI. A hidden jewel that it is. Well, my friends, let's make sure this podcast is no longer a hidden jewel. Shout it from the rooftops if this show has benefited you in any way, shape, or form. By leaving a review, telling your friends and family about it, if you get something out of it, so that way they can get something out of it too. And speaking of getting something out of it too, let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of Podmatch.com, the wonderful site where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is freaking in. She's cooler than freaking 3 cucumbers indeed, a whole trifecta, a whole triangle of cucumbers, because we got the first ever possibility coach. That's right, trademark. That's right indeed. First ever possibility coach on the podcast indeed. Because she has done a whole bunch of wonderful work around the globe, because she's a transformational speaker on top of that, founder of her own company, You Too Shine, as well as an international best-selling author, as well as a creator of the Empower Me and Master Me app. So she's an app creator as well. So my goodness, she knows all about the way to help folks prosper more than the greenest grass in Kentucky. So let's give it up for the one, the only, the victorious and radiant, the one and only Ph.D. herself, Victoria Rader. How you doing today, Victoria?
No, Dom, you keep talking. I'm feeling all kind of warm and fuzzy. You just keep talking. It's so cool to be here. Thank you for having me. Now that I've been to my own eulogy, it's good to be back with you. It's good to be back in my body.
You said eulogy. That's a new one.
Well, I mean, isn't that what those bios are done for? It's like, wow, and her life was perfect. And there was not a speck of interruption on. Yeah. When we look at people's bios, it's the gaps in between. I guess we'll fill some in today, yes?
Oh, yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because I hear you're a chocolate fan, and I hear eclairs are chocolate, but they're not eclairs without cream. So mind filling in folks on the cream I may have missed in the bio about you?
Well, hey, chocolate is a wonder of the world, if you ask me. And even if you don't ask me, I'm going to volunteer my opinion. I'm working on it. I love chocolate.
Ah, there you go. There you go. So she's victorious and she's a volunteer. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. I heard you had to volunteer yourself into prosperity.
No, I was really forced into it, Listen, this is such a cool way to look at things, Think of it, how fast all of us keep falling victim to something bad. But when I say, no, I was forced into a good life, everything inside you starts freaking out. What Well, good news, just like you can't be forced into good life, you can't be forced into bad life. You can be born into it. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay. That's the magic of what I do, right? That's the magic of what I do all day long.
Ah, there you go. That's right indeed. So how'd you get to that point? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't just wake up one day and be like, man, I'm in freaking France, even though I'm Ukrainian, and then ended up in America for some strange reason. So my goodness. So for those who are living under 30 rocks and probably need to know a bit more about you and how you got to where you are today, mind filling in folks on how you got to where you are today, Victoria?
I was born in Ukraine, in the former Soviet Union, before the country fell apart, before Ukraine was independent. And there are pluses to growing up in a totalitarian society because, with complete lack of external freedom, you understand that internal freedom sometimes is all you've got, and honestly, is the only thing you need to reclaim your freedom. So to me, it's not a beautiful phrase. To me, Nelson Mandela is not a beautiful quote where he said it was in prison that I found my freedom. I get it. I get it fully. He was in prison and he found his freedom. And what he's talking about is once he connected to the fact that nobody and nothing can affect what he thinks and what he feels. And it doesn't matter where you are, that is freedom. Once he was in that space, miracles started happening, right? All of a sudden to a president, all of a sudden to changing the concept of freedom for a whole country. And so it's a great concept. So wherever you are, whatever prison in your mind, prison of circumstance, prison of relationships, whatever prison you're in, I was in prison of the totalitarian regime, and I dreamed as a kid of traveling. I saw myself on the Great Wall of China. I saw myself in India and Taj Mahal. I imagined those things. And so I got to tell you, when 20 and then 30 years later, I stood on the Great Wall of China, sobbing that it was my life, still not having money to do it, and yet seeing it happening and saying, wait a minute, how did it happen? Decoding how it happened and then being able to guide others to do the same thing has become a joy of great service, a source of great service, a source of great joy, and as a result, a source of prosperity. So for me, one thing after another, life is too long, events are too vibrant, but if I were to give you highlights, I had a friend who moved to the United States who, because of the culture shock, was going through a very hard time. Her parents invited me to come help her. I lived in the US for half a year, went back to Ukraine. The country fell apart. The borders went down. I could immigrate, married an American guy, 20 years into it, still married, you know, with happily ever after moments. you know, 2 kids, 3 dogs, and a cat. Active tennis player and chocolate eater.
Ah, there we go. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Chocolate eater to prosperity creator. You'll love to freaking see it. That's right indeed, even though she's still both. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, congrats on 20 plus happy years of marriage. Indeed. That means the mind control's still working, I'm imagining. Stop.
Well,
Oh.
the joke is that 28 years of marriage with happy moments, right? With a lot of work. Happiness doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. It's something you choose over and over and over again.
Yep, definitely. Definitely see my parents in action. They were married for 57 years. Yeah. Yeah, it does take work. It does take work indeed. So, by goodness, so speaking of work, you did a lot of work on yourself because if I'm not mistaken, if I think it was 2007, you actually was able to amplify your level of finance and I guess creation, content creation, business creation from having a setback of some bad finances before the crash happened.
Well, I've created them. It wasn't a setback. It was self-made. My joke is people talk about being self-made millionaire. Well, we're all self-made. What would it be? Debtors. I was a totally self-made disaster. Nobody helped me in that one. That one was not inspired by anybody. I was completely self-made disaster. I dreamed big and I paid nothing, and that means debt. I packed my kids and I said I want to educate them. They're little. I'm going to homeschool. I'm going to take them to Greece. I come home after 3 incredible weeks in Greece with my kids, my mom. My husband says, honey, don't know what it is that you do in Ukraine. In the US, nothing is attracted and attached to that little plastic card you've been swiping. This is called debt in America. And, it's not a cool thing. So two things happen. I say, I'm not going to sacrifice the quality of education and service, because reading about a place and going to the place are two very different things. Reading about poverty and seeing somebody's dirty and hungry is not the same thing. And so I know at that point that I want to take my kids traveling. I want to teach them. I don't know. I don't see it to be possible to do financially. So I literally Google, what is the fastest way to become financially free, to make money in the US while homeschooling your kids? That was my question. It's 2007. The real estate is booming. The due to all of the predatory funding practices and policies, the country is pretending to be thriving. And so I get into real estate by 2008 when recession hits. Recession hits, and it's a beautiful thing for a new agent because I don't have bad habits yet. I haven't learned. I haven't learned to be paid for doing nothing. Nobody's taught me yet to be paid for doing nothing. So agents are running out of the market. I'm getting coaches. I'm getting classes. By the way, I'm painfully, shy, naturally kid and then mom at that time. So I'm forced so far out of my comfort zone that I can't find it back. Thanks heaven. I cannot go back to my comfort zone because I'm so far out of it. But nothing gets in the way of what matters most, which to me are 2 kids and my desire for them to grow not only into bright kids, but into compassionate human beings. And so, so crying at night, snotting in the morning, going and making myself uncomfortable talking to strangers over and over and over again, serving relentlessly, learning, not working on Sunday. It's a big day for me, traveling with kids. So I get noticed. 2 years into it, I'm a top 1% of the agents in the US. People are like, what's your secret? And it's so disappointing when you say work. I mean, people are like shocked, But I very quickly realized, jokes aside, it's not just work. I realized that there's much more than work. And what is it? What is besides that work? It's a mindset. It's the skill set. And it's an effort as a combination. So I'll go get a degree in metaphysical studies to understand how mind works, how we create reality, why some of us can buckle up and do what we do, while others can't get out of bed. It's not because one of us is stronger and the other one is weaker. It's because some of us have not been equipped with mindset, skill set, and effort that others have been, So I get a degree, I get all kinds of energy modality certification, and in 2014, wrap my real estate out and start my own spiritual coaching with practical application company, You to Shine. I tell people we find spiritual causes to your practical problems.
Me lucky indeed. So many things to unpack there. So many darn jewels and gems. You think she's actually a jewelry store owner with all the gems? Because it's kind of funny. You jokingly said self-made disaster from all the dead. Because it's like, hey, when you think about it, old folks want to brag about self-made millionaire. It's like, nah, that ain't self-made. Somebody had to buy your product. Like, someone built the house you're selling.
Somebody had to teach you how to bake it. Yeah, come on, man. No self-made success, but self-made misery. Oh yeah, all day long. I mean, I can do this. Free me to do this. Take me away from a good causes. I can repeat it all over. They say, oh, you can be a millionaire and lose it all and rebuild it. I'm like, that's not a challenge. I can be a disaster all over again. I've mastered that, And that's the tricky part. That's a tricky part. It's the morning when I don't want to get out of bed and be motivating somebody. It's those morning when it matters. you know.
Definitely true indeed. Definitely true indeed. Yeah, that's like probably one of my pet peeves. Like, oh yeah, self-made. Like, yep. Okay, keep believing that one. And also, powerful thing you mentioned that you being naturally quiet and shy. So my goodness, in addition to being required basically to have that hard work to be done, is there anything else that helps you to get out your shell and to find your confidence during that stage of life where you eventually became number one in your field as a real estate agent?
It's interesting that you sell the shell. The very first book I wrote years ago was called Until You Win: Eight Secrets to Winning the Race of Life, of Why the Tortoise Always Wins. And there was that whole concept that for tortoise to win, it has to get out of its shell at least enough to move and to see where it's moving. So it's the dishelling process there a bit. And I got to tell you, it's all about getting over yourself. It's just all about getting over yourself. To me, shyness, I'm talking all about myself, okay? Only about myself. I don't believe in pointing fingers and fixing people that don't want to be helped, okay? So for me, I realized that being shy was another coin of being prideful. What do I mean by that? Either thinking I'm too good for you, or I'm thinking I'm too bad for this world, focuses on me. And when I focus on me, that's pride. That's pride. Mark Twain said, humility is not thinking less of yourself. Oh, poor little girl, she's scared of the world. It's thinking of yourself less. It's more of, okay, yeah, I'm scared of the world, but my kids, I want them to see the world. And that person over there, if I don't help them, some predator realtor is going to go and mess them up. So, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to take care of them. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again back in real estate. Shyness left when love came. Listen, shyness left when love came. And so you cannot be shy or prideful if you realize that you are born, and I believe with every fiber of my being, that you are born to find and serve somebody today, every single day. People ask me, clients come, well, I can't find my purpose in life. Here's a shocking truth: your purpose in life to be alive. It's a shocker. It's a shocker. The great spiritual essence that you are, the spirit, the soul, the higher self, the energy that you are outside of just your physical matter, thought it was a brilliant idea for you to be alive. That is the purpose of life. So when you are fully alive, you're going to look how to make life better for everyone around you to the degree you're capable of doing it. That'll grow your talents, and that'll take you in the direction of expressing those talents that looking back or looking around to the world will look like your purpose. What I do is not my purpose. I was not born to be a possibility coach. I was born to be me. And right now, that me is expressing itself through whatever it is I'm doing. But if you take me and you put me in a cabbage farm, I will love them cabbages. So that's just so important to know. You and I chatted a second. Don't make life complex. Your purpose will find you. Just, can you serve your puppy? Can you serve your cranky husband? Can you serve your sad wife? Can you just serve them? It's huge.
It's huge indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. She's a walking jewelry store, y'all. That's right indeed. Gem after gem. You love to freaking see it. That's right indeed. Shyness left when love came in. You love to see it. Pun intended, I guess.
Oh, another second, I'll start bringing the real jewels like my jewelry. I mean, you're crossing that line. You're like very close to the line now. Like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh man. So my goodness, so speaking of jewels, you got this fabulous book, that's right indeed, which is nice, red and shiny, that's also in ebook form and audiobook form, even though I'm disappointed
Mm.
you ain't read your book. Like, darn it, she has a great voice. How dare she rob us? And some
Well,
journals
it should
too.
not be used for all purposes. Let's be very okay. So yeah, Prost for me. Let's talk about Prost for me book. It's a cool thing. I was not planning on writing that particular book. Be this is what I know to be true. There are things I believe, there are things that I know, and I know not to prove them, because if somebody doesn't agree, that's great because they have different inner knowing. But I know with every fiber of my being that we were not born to be in lack. We were not created for lack. So the suffering and the pain we feel is from the lack we experience because it's a foreign experience for our soul. And yet, so many of us on this globe today struggle so dearly. So I was going to write a book about love, and God, creator, world designer, the voice, the still small voice says, yeah, but do you love yourself enough to write about what needs to be written, which is money? Like, come again, do I love myself to write about money? Clearly not, because I'm like triggered all over. I want to write about love. You're telling me write about money. Oh. And so I had to really think about it and realize that truly money is just energy, nothing more, nothing else. Money just shows to the world who we are. A lot of us struggle with money because we're so afraid to know who we are, or we're so afraid to be discovered for who we are. So we hide subconsciously. Nobody chooses it. Nobody says, I'm going to be broke. Nobody says that. We choose it subconsciously. Our fear chooses for us to be broke. Number one. Number two, you could be doing quote unquote right things right now, reading the right books, doing the right job, being creative, and you see zero results. That's disheartening. So you got to remember that what you're seeing around you right now is the results that were sown up to 7 years ago. We live in the past. You and I having this conversation, we sat an interview months ago. So it's a silly example, but we are watching the replay of past choices. So the most important thing is don't give up long enough till the little sprouts of hope become seedlings of prosperity. Don't say this doesn't work. So that book became, yeah, I love me enough to write about something I had no interest about because I love my reader enough to know that they can prosper by remembering and loving who they are to the degree that they can reclaim prosperity. So that's the Prosper Me book. The journals are there to support the journey through the book.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, and I heard in a past interview this was a channeled book too, no less. So how was that process like? Was it like 100% channeling? Was it like 98, 95, 3% channels?
Yeah, listen, this is really cool. I don't know why it's coming in, but because we're talking channeling, it's coming in for us. I want to talk about 4 stages of awareness and what flow is and what channeling is. It's really cool. So, the first state of awareness is called unconscious incompetence. We know it. It's I don't know what I don't know. Okay, I don't know what I don't know. Up to this moment, you didn't know me, so you didn't know that you didn't know that you didn't know me. Unfortunately for me, there'll be somebody who's listening to this amazing, amazing, cool, jewel full fuel. I love the jewels. Okay. Okay. Refocus, Vika. Refocus. Interview. I don't know them. And it bugs me. I don't know who I don't know. So for some of us, we're like, flow? What? I didn't know there was state of flow. That's called unconscious incompetence. But then you go to, okay, conscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence is, ooh, I now know that I don't know. For example, did you know that gratitude and forgiveness and tithing are 3 of the laws of money? Nope, didn't know. But now you know. So you have conscious incompetence. Okay. So conscious incompetence is, oh yeah, I know what flow is. I just haven't experienced it. So I get flow. I get the idea of flow or channeling. It's one and the same, by the way. Okay. You channel energy of love, it flows through you, you channel God's voice, whatever. Okay. So then the third one is called conscious competence. Conscious competence is when you know that you know. So you have a moment of clarity. You're sharing something that gives somebody else goosebumps. There's a presence of the divine, the presence of the spirit. Everybody knows. Everybody says, I got that. I felt that. When she said, I matter, I don't think it was a figure of speech. And as I say that, here's the channeling. It's not a figure of speech. I don't have to be perfect to matter. I don't have to have a title to matter. I matter. Because I am matter, physical matter, so I matter. All right, all right. And the energy is here to remind me over and over and over again that through matter, you matter. Through matter, you matter. Whoa, huge spiritual concept. Okay, conscious competence. But then what happens to so many of us, we experience the chills through our body, we experience the insight, and then we freak out. We're like, what just happened? Something just happened. And we snap out of it. We snap out of it. Why? Because the fourth stage, unconscious competence, is you are in the flow to the degree that you are the flow. So you cannot judge that you are in the flow, because to judge it, you would have had to have left it. So huge. So had I had the capacity to answer that question, right? So I have no clue, my dear friend. I believe the book is 100% inspired. I don't know how much of my human got in the way. that's the story of that book.
Yeah, because I was curious. Because well, let's see. At least one other author had their one of their books challenged. I believe Carrie Hummingbird was the only other one I can think of at the moment where her book was a complete 100% channeled book, and it's like, oh wow, this is so not the television folks were thinking about. This is some good stuff here. So like, oh wow. So how was that process like, getting all that wonderful divine inspiration? Like, where did you get carpal tunnel from all the writing afterwards? Have to handle all of that?
Well, looking at the house is pretty cool, because I had a program that I recorded, a video training program that had all the laws, because the laws, I chat with the laws, okay? The laws is how the universe is created. They're powerful energies through which God operates. And as any energy, there is a frequency and there is a presence to that. And so laws are powerful. And it's cool to be friends with them, because they're going to work either way. So if they're going to be either working with you, for you, or against you. So we don't freak out about gravity. Oh, gravity is the law. No matter what you do, you drop something, it's going to fall on the ground. Okay, gravity is there. If you learn how to use it, you can fly a plane. If you don't learn how to use it, you're going to keep falling and hurting yourself. It's just the law. So the laws of prosperity are just the laws. So working with them, chatting with them, I created that program. Then we've created it as affirmations in the app. One of our apps is called Empower-Me. So I've created those apps. And so I'm like, oh, my work is complete. People will find it. They'll be great. And so I'm going to write this book about love. And that's when the spirit says, yeah, not really. You're going to write this book about prosperity. So I want to give credit to my publisher for that book, because the book originally was about freedom, and it was called F of Freedom, F of Marble, I'm Free. Let me tell you about the marble. This is the one that you get chills about. I get chills about telling the story. I've told it thousands of times, literally not hundreds, thousands of times. And the story starts in 1400s in Italy. In 1400s, there is a sculptor whose name is Donatello. He is given a huge slab of marble to carve a sculpture. So he looks at that sculpture and he says, it has too many veins. I cannot carve out of it. It's a faulty marble. He rejects it completely. So 50 years later, out of that same marble, another sculptor whose name is Michelangelo carves the statue of David. Statue of David, till today, 600 years later, stands in Florence in open element on the street, not in a museum. Took my kids there to see it. There it stands. So when Michelangelo is asked, how could you possibly carve this magnificent sculpture by his contemporaries out of this faulty, rejected marble? He says, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. Till my last dying breath, I'm going to say every one of us is an angel and a ton of marble. And we're here to keep carving until we're free. So I have this great idea. I want to write this book about freedom. I'm sitting in a sacred place for me, my temple. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I need a title. I need a title. And I hear, fuck off marble, I'm free. I'm like, what? You want me to write a spiritual book with a swear word in it? I mean, misalignment, red light, girls freaking out. I mean, I'm all bubbles, I'm all lights. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be called F off Marble. I'm free. That's gonna be my book. I'm gonna write it that way. I pull out of the temple. It's in Philadelphia. I turn over to drive to Philadelphia, and there's a sculpture by a Greek sculptor, modern Greek sculptor, that's called Freedom. And it's a body coming out of bronze. So I'm like having one of those experiences. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm writing the book. I start writing the book about these 7 seals, 7 chakras, 7 energy centers. I call them possibility centers of opening your freedom. I'm like, oh, I'm genius. I am genius. Okay, I'm writing a book. So I submit this book to the publisher and she says, book is great. Will be the bestseller. Title sucks. Come up with a better title. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm paying her. So, because I'm paying her, I will probably listen to it. So I meditate, I pray, I say, what's a better title? And I hear Love Me. And I see little M big E. My mind immediately says, oh, little M big E, it's a pattern interrupt. Somebody's at the airport, they see my book, they're like, why me? Why little M big E? Like a week later, God's like, since I told you little M big E, would you like to know why you're gonna go with the pattern interrupt? I'm like, oh yeah, ask the next question. For inspiration, ask the next question. Okay. I'm like, sure, what is it? And this is where the formula for everything I do stands for. We're mortal, we're matter, we're material, and we're manifesting. That's a little part of who we are, little m. We're also eternal, we're energy, we're essence that expands. That's who we are. The journey of this life, surrendering the little m to the big E, mortal to eternal, matter to energy, material to essential, and manifesting to expansive. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what you've been inspiring me to do all along. That's every book, that's every seminar. I'm getting, we only teach what we are to learn. Clearly, I am to learn a lot. So we're now there. And that's why I'm so excited to write the Love Me book. When the question comes in, do you love yourself enough to start where it's needed most, which is prosper me? So now, my friend, you have the rest of the story.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, and it's a good one indeed. Definitely a good one indeed. Freaking hilarious and great to get the backstory of the little M Big E, because that was a man like, yeah, that was a pattern interrupt. I'm like, really? Why is the M small?
Right?
uh, That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So, my goodness, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on the guest side of the microphone?
Yeah, I wish they asked me so I could do a quick reading for them and tell them what I see in them and about them. Are you up? Are you up for it? Are you
Oh,
up for it?
I'm up for it. Bring it.
Oh, let's entertain your audience. Did you feel like everybody leaned in? I mean, I felt like everybody just leaned in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, here's the brilliant truth. You have one of the most brilliant minds I've come across. One of the most brilliant, capable minds that I've come across. It is a seeking mind. It is a mind that seeks to know for the sake of knowing and for the joy of knowing. You have nothing you have to impress anybody with. You really don't care about the opinions because you are living in the truth of who you are. That is such a rare, rare jewel indeed. And so I just thought I'd validate it because it's a joy to see that on this receiving side.
Oh, sweet. All right, thanks. There we go. That's right indeed. I knew the last name had meaning for a reason.
Oh, well, there's a law of receiving in the Prosper Me book. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Man, you know what? Self-sabotage. Oh my goodness. Let me push the good back away from me. Did she just compliment me on my show? I mean, and yeah, and then we won money. Well, this is so much less than money. It's a genuine energy of love and compassion and support. So yeah, thanks for being vulnerable and allowing for it and empowering.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. My pleasure indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because, hey, when you got 5-star humans on your show and they got skills and they want to display, so that way folks can dive in more, hey, might as well give them a quick opportunity. Give them that little appetizer indeed. Appetizer indeed. And the fun part is, since your fellow podcast hosts have to ask you one of those obligatory podcasting questions. So, what would you consider your 3 biggest lessons learned thus far from starting and growing your podcast?
Don't force is lesson one. Don't force. I was not looking to do a podcast. I was guided to do it. I did it. When it felt like this is one season, pause. You'll know when the next one is. Not forcing, not being attached to the results. The second one, don't be attached to the results but be fully convinced to the efforts. So fully, committed to your effort. And shame is an adversarial energy. So be shameless about sharing the light. All about the voice, my podcast, it's about listening to your inner voice. If I feel ashamed to share about the light that I'm bringing, that ain't good. So be shameless about sharing your light.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Be shameless about sharing your light. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And y'all heard the mark of a master communicator in action. So darn simple. That's right indeed. Be shameless in sharing your light indeed. That's right indeed. And don't force nothing. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Don't force nothing. And be in the flow. That's right indeed. Be in the flow so you can go. That's right
Hey,
indeed.
for the
That's
girl
right.
who drowned a few times, it's a big deal, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to drown. Definitely don't want that action.
When you're in the flow, make sure it ain't downward, okay? Define the flow you're in. And if it's downward, you might be flushed, okay? If you're being flushed, it ain't flow, okay? Okay? It's okay. Just know what is moving you. You don't have to go with it if it's bringing you down. You can just say, not for me. Put a visual stop sign in your mind, say, stop, not for me. Stop, not for me. And then talk to you, because that flood of emotion, flood of verbal self-abuse, flood of verbal self-doubt that you cannot stop internally, put a stop sign to it and then start talking, because the voice frequency will take over the thought frequency. Start saying, I remember who I am. I am none of that. I remember who I am. I am this light that is struggling with my matter a little bit, and my matter is about to surrender. My body's going to surrender to the light that I am. And I even talk to you, say things you need to hear.
Me lucky. That's right indeed. That's right indeed, because definitely a lot of good stuff we definitely need to hear indeed. So my goodness, I got a feeling I might know the answer to this question considering the start of the conversation, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So if your wonderful book Prosper Me, if it were a food, what would it be and why?
What a great question. What would it be and why? Boring part of me wants to say onion because there's so many layers. So I'm gonna let the boring part take a sidekick, and we're gonna go for the more exciting one. Um, wow, chewing gum. Chewing gum.
Oh.
You chew on it for flavor. You can spit it out. Yeah. Or you can make it bubble out and pop that anything you don't need leaves. Oh, it's a chewing gum. It's a chewing gum. Yeah. Chew on it.
Woo! I'm so glad I said yes to having you on the show. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. I love the way your mind works indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It's chewing gum. And you're actually the first to say their book is chewing gum, which is still amazing to me.
You won't chew on it. There's many layers and flavors. Yes, indeed. And if we could have a chewing gum that builds up flavor, not loses it, and we can, because I'm possibility coach and everything is possible. So now the food is it the chewing gum that builds up flavor the longer you chew it. Ooh, there we go. That's a definition from my book as a food.
That's right. It's like the modern day icebreakers gum. It's not that old school fruit stripes gum you'd see as a kid with the temporary tattoos where three chews and it's over. The flavor's gone.
Yeah, yeah, none of that. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
It's the modern day goodness. It keeps its flavor for like ever.
Yeah.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you don't wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
You know, there are two advice. One to me is 25, and one maybe general is 25. Because if I am waking up 25 here now and remembering where I was mentally, emotionally as 25, I would say I'm the one that is grateful to you for not giving up. It wouldn't be advice. It would be, if you are 25 and you wake up and things aren't going your way, close your eyes and let the one that's still you from 20 years up to now thank you for not giving up today. That's the advice I needed at 25. For any 25-year-old today, AI is not here to replace you. It's here to free you to be the human that you're born to be. Man, isn't that magnificent?
Definitely magnificent indeed. That's right, indeed. I'm assuming magnificent with a capital M this time.
Well, we don't want to get carried away and complicate things, do we?
That's right, indeed. She's got that ray in her last name because she's a ray of light. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That ray of light inside. You love to see it. Don't want to keep it complicated. Want to keep it simple. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So that way you can get in your brain, sleep in there for a long time. Heck, maybe even stay awake in the brain for a long time. Indeed. I know folks want to keep you and all the stuff that you do and all your products in their minds woke for a long time, or should I say woke for a long time, for a lack of a better word in this case. So for those of you to keep in contact with you and keep up with all the stuff that you're doing, Victoria, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Yeah, so site is you2shine.com. Why you? Number 2, shine.com. See? Why you to shine? Okay. Cool thing is to go to moneyquiz.me. We now know why it's .me, not .com. So wise. Moneyquiz.me. When you take that free quiz, it tells you what your driving emotion or energy in motion is and what 3 laws you might be limiting your prosperity with. So it's a really, really fun, quick, exciting quiz.
Oh, good deal. That's right indeed. And folks know they love themselves some quizzes. That's right indeed. So go ahead, head over to take that wonderful quiz on the natural site and subscribe to our show as well so that way you can get some more great content. Some great content with like 15 hours. It's great. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And be sure to cop some copies of our magical book, Prosper Me, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe 90% of the proceeds go to the Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, all the profit goes from the book, all the profit goes to Ukraine. That's a homeland that needs lots of love right now.
Yeah, exactly. So homeland love. That's right indeed. The homeland love that needs some homeland security. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, any parting words before we close up shop, Dr. Vic?
Yeah, I think I don't know what this keeps coming through. It might be just for one person, right? And then it's all worth it. Is that if there was a better, wiser, more brilliant way to fill the space-time continuum that you currently occupy, the great divine intelligence would have done so. So just chew on that like a gum.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.